its way.
All right, welcome everyone. So this is Wednesday Night Football, and I'm your host, Jesse Waidler. And to my, I guess it'd be over here, is Gabe. You want to introduce yourself, Gabe?
How's it going, everybody? My name is Gabe. I am Jesse's cousin, and here we are. We're doing this podcast. Gotta love it. Let's do it.
Yeah. So we had some technical issues to get off with, like a 8-hour delay, I feel like. But Wednesday Night Football is going to be a football show that we're going to do a podcast much like this. We're going to go over a few topics throughout, Monday night or Thursday night football. Talk about the history of football, whatever the case, and it comes out every day. Oh, or I shouldn't say every day, every week on Wednesday. And then Gabe, I think you're going to do a show as well. Is that right?
That is correct. We have split our podcast into two different halves. We have a football section of the show, and we also have a gaming show. So I am Sunday Night Gaming. Every Sunday night, you will hear the latest in gaming news, our gaming banters and predictions, and just overall gaming history between then and now. So a lot of gaming shenanigans. So look forward to that. But tonight is all about football, my guy. Is that right?
It is. It is. And why not? I mean, it's football season. Everyone's been tired and worn out from the COVID years of past. Now it's football season. We've had 3 excellent weeks of football. I mean, this is probably the best football I've seen in years. The players are energized, maybe not out of the NFC East, but this is still the best football I've seen entertainment wise. And I want to dive right into a game that we just watched, Monday Night Football. You had your Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the game went exactly how I thought it would, right? So you have a 41-21 victory for the Cowboys. It was honestly a beatdown. At no point in that game did I feel like the Cowboys were threatened, even when Dak Prescott did almost like a handoff to the Eagles in the end zone as pity. It was funny to watch, but
we had to make them feel like they were in the game.
you got to at that point, because the rest of the game, you just kind of just led them by the nose and we're like, all right, here's a touchdown for you. Here's a touchdown for you. Third quarter, fourth quarter. But this is our game. Thanks for coming, Eagles. We wanted to sell tickets. How do you like that game as a Cowboys fan?
That was an amazing performance. And just to let you guys know, I'm not wearing any Cowboys memorabilia right now, but I am a Cowboys fan. Jesse is a Giants fan. And yeah, so the Cowboys played a fantastic game, easily their best game of the season. Perfect to have in the home opener. The running game, I was so impressed with. Everybody watching at home must have been, floored by the running game. Zeke actually did well. He got over 100 yards for the first time, and I think it almost feels like 2 years. Tony Pollard also did really well. Our tight end scored 2 touchdowns, and I don't think it wasn't even our starter, Dalton Schultz. Blake Jarwin's supposed to be our main guy, but Schultz was killing the game too. So the Cowboys just had a complete performance. And let's not forget Trayvon Diggs on defense with a pick 6 and stopping many key third down passes. And of course, Micah Parsons and everybody else on the defensive line helping to get Hurts and not letting him run very often at all. So the Cowboys played a complete game from a Cowboys fan perspective. It makes us feel really good about, potentially winning the division this year. I don't want to sound too, far ahead, but there's that. It looked pretty good from a divisional rival.
It hurts me to say this, but the Cowboys did look great. All right. So when you look at week 1, you're facing the Bucs. Now the Bucs, reigning Super Bowl champions, they go out and they just score and rack up points against your defense like nothing. Now your offense is already clicking on all gears. You guys are battling it out with them the entire game. I feel like extremely entertaining game. This game, I felt like your defense had stepped it up. Now, mind you, Tom Brady's Buccaneers is way different than anything that the Eagles can field. But do you feel like your defense has improved moving into this week as opposed to where they were at week 1?
I think a little bit, yeah, because if you think about it, we're running on first-year defensive coordinator Dan Quinn. Well, he's been a defensive coordinator before, but this is his first year with the Cowboys with this new team, new scheme. So it had a lot of pieces to work together when it comes to week 1. And of course, you're talking about the Super Bowl champs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady knows how to pass on you, and he just, he was able to get receivers wide open and just break through our defensive wall. So we did have a few key plays. Our defense played well. We had 4 turnovers that game in week 1, but we weren't able to shut it out. unlike in the Eagles game, where yes, we did have some defensive players who were injured, the defense did show a more complete performance. They were able to play alongside each other. It wasn't mainly like individualized performances. The team
Right, right.
really was a whole. And I think that helped us, get our way through the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line to get to Hurts more easily in that game.
And so with Trevin now, this is what? This is 3 games in a row with an interception for him. Do I understand that properly?
I believe so. He had an interception in week 1 and 3. I don't know if he picked off Justin Herbert in week 2. It's past my memory, but the Cowboys defense has had multiple turnovers in each game so far. 4 in week 1, 2 in week 2, and I believe at least 2 in week 3. So our defense is somehow completely flipped the script over last year. And yeah, he's by far our best player on the team right now. He's making all the big plays. Surprised he hasn't gotten flagged for taunting for any of those. But
Yeah,
I'll take
honestly,
it.
the Eagles are the worst at it. I think they're the most undisciplined team in the NFC East, said for years past to now. Cowboys, I think you're more of a respected organization. I think in Jerry Jones's world, either you march or you get out. So I think he'll calm himself down. I think Jerry Jones will put his foot down. And so I think your defense is clamping down. I think your offense has been just on fire.
Mhm.
But your special teams, man, your special teams. Tell me what you feel about Gray. That's his name, right? Gray
Greg.
Verlaine. Greg Verlaine, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
he misses consistently now. I
yeah.
feel like everyone's saying, "Oh, he's wishy-washy, he's inconsistent." I say he's completely consistent, which is happy for me as a Giants fan, right? I'm like, hey, they can't kick field goals to save their lives or 2 point
And we consistently miss extra points,
yeah, extra points are just out the window for you. So where do you sit as a Cowboys fan? Do you say move on, or do you think he can improve?
I mean, he's made some very clutch kicks in the past. Like just recently in week 2, he hit the game winner against the Chargers. But he was on the Rams before that. He had that game-winning kick that sent them to the Super Bowl. So like he can make clutch kicks, but I don't
Right.
know what's been happening with him this year specifically. He's missed a ton of extra points already, and it's only week 3, and he's missed a few field goals. He missed an easy 31-yarder that could have been a game winner in Tampa Bay. So he's left a lot of points out on the table for the Cowboys. So, in my opinion, someone who grew up and first started watching the Cowboys back when we had Dan Bailey, who was very automatic for us in those years, and I know we've had quite a few other automatic kickers in the past. Seeing a kicker be this inconsistent, especially missing extra points like almost regularly now, is just I think we gotta move on. Like give him until maybe the bye week, but if he hasn't improved, I say just move on after that.
So I think that's a little. I don't know if you could move on from him mid-season like that. Now, if you want to bench him, I say bench him December 19th. I hear that's a good game. The Cowboys Giants
Right.
in Giants Stadium. I'll be there for that one. I'll be watching that game. So I say, why don't you just bench all your starters, and that way you can test out your other players. How do you feel about that? I think that's a good idea, right?
You know, hopefully we'll have the division locked by then and we can bench all our starters.
I hate you for saying that, but you're not wrong. I have to say, as a Giants fan right now, going into week 4, the Cowboys' performance is showing dominant leadership in the NFC East. The Giants can't get out of their own way right now. They can beat opponents, but the problem is that they beat themselves.
Hmm.
Washington, who I'll call the Redskins probably 30 times throughout these podcasts, but Washington just it hasn't really clicked. The defense is awful. The offense is meh. It's just a boring team to watch. And then the Eagles, they show flashes, but as you see, they're nothing compared to an opponent with a winning record. And so
Hmm.
that really leaves you as a Cowboy team just to lead the NFC East. Now, injuries are a thing. Dak could go down. Zeke could stub his toe or something.
Yeah.
But I think you guys control the division. What's your confidence in that? Do you feel like you guys are going to peter out, or do you think this is just the start of a run?
I think we can definitely we at this point we pretty much control our destiny now. We have five or six games in a row. Once we get past these Panthers, we have I think it's 5 games in a row where we're facing opponents that have not made the playoffs. last year. So we could essentially go 5-0 during that run if we put up complete performances like we did in weeks, all 3 weeks, technically. I guess we put up complete performances every week. It's just a matter of, finishing strong, not petering out when we get to the red zone. We have trouble in the red zone sometimes. That happened in the Chargers game. But we are looking strong, in my opinion, and I think these next few weeks will really come as a test to us as whether or not we are, contenders or pretenders. We may win the East, but, what's that going to show if we only get, our one and done in the playoffs? So I think these next few games will really be a telltale sign of what type of run we'll actually make.
All right, man. If anything, I think the Cowboys they always start strong. I just think they're not good finishers, whether it be,
Right.
injuries or poor play calling. Maybe they're just too conservative in the end. I don't know what it is, but the Cowboys just never seem to finish. So as much as I think they're the best in the NFC East, I don't know how much that's particularly saying this year. So I wish you the best, man. But I think we need to talk about more exciting football. I think everyone can agree that Cowboys aren't that exciting.
Yeah, let's talk about the Giants.
I think we'll pass on that, but we got a game coming up at least. All right. So we got Thursday night football. It's, tomorrow by the time this video is posted. And we got probably the least interesting matchup, in my opinion, for Thursday night football so far. It's the Jaguars versus the Bangles. Now, just to give everyone some history to these teams here. So the Jaguars have scored 53 points so far this year. Okay. So their offense, it's sluggish, really. I mean, sure, you can do better than that or worse than that, but it's not great numbers that you awe at. And here's a number you will awe at. How many points do you think they've allowed this year?
Oh, man.
3 games.
They have allowed, I forgot who they played in week 2, but I'm going to say 90. Because they allowed 30 on the Cardinals, 20 plus on the Texans, and I forgot who they played week 2. So
you should be a betting man. They allowed 91 points, 91. Oh so if this was a game show, you would have just won, man. So 91 points to their 53 scored. That's not how you want to win games. So they go into week 1, they lose to the Texans, right? They go into week 2, they lose to the Broncos, which is
that's right.
An unproven team. Sure, they're undefeated, but unproven nonetheless because they haven't faced anyone strong. And then they go into the Cardinals, who is arguably the strongest of those 3 teams, and they lose again. So they're 0-3, and they're facing a Bengals team that has had a weird year. So far, just to give you the opposite here, Bengals score 68 points, right? They allow 54 points. Okay. So you see there's a net gain there. They're doing something. It's kind of like a touchdown to interception ratio. There's something going on there that they're working out with. And they faced
the Bengals could be 3-0.
They could
right? Very easily be 3-0.
They faced 3 interesting teams. They, the Vikings, who they're not doing well in terms of their record, but they're not a pushover team. The Bears, though, they lost to, and the Bears wishy-washy at best, but they have a great defense. Steelers, they beat the Steelers handily, or the Steelers beat themselves. It's up for debate. But you walk into this now. So now you got the Jaguars, who are limping in at 0-3. You got these Bengals coming at 2-1. And I think the only time these Bengals lose is when they face a strong defense. They lose to, like when they lost to the Bears. Here they are walking into a team that's now allowed 91 points. I'm saying Bengals all the way. I think it's a clear winner here. What do you think?
The Bengals are definitely going to win this match. I would be completely shocked if the Jags come through. Here's what I've observed over the past 3 weeks when it comes to these 2 teams. Both of these teams have very young quarterbacks. The Jags have Trevor Lawrence, who was drafted first overall this past draft, and the Bengals have Joe Burrow, who was drafted first overall in the draft before Trevor Lawrence. So that's what the story pretty much is here. Number 1 pick versus number 1 pick, the 2 most recent number 1 picks going at it. And, I'm saying picks a lot, but, it makes a lot of sense. They both throw a lot of picks. At least Trevor Lawrence has thrown plenty of picks. He's thrown multiple games.
7 picks.
All 3 of his games.
Yeah.
And Joe Burrow, he hasn't thrown too many picks, but he threw 3 straight picks against the Chicago Bears, and that's why they lost by 3 points. They would have won the game. That's why I said they could easily be 3-0. But like you said, I do think it comes down to the defense, and what we saw from the Jags in week 3 against the Cardinals was that their defense they may start out okay, but then Urban Meyer and the rest of the team just kind of loses the game plan, kind of after halftime, and maybe they just get too high over themselves. They're leading a team or they're up at some point, but yeah, the Jags, I feel like, are just very dysfunctional. They don't have an identity for themselves. I think they just got, too high over their number one pick, and they don't really know what to do with him at the moment. So the Bengals, they're definitely a more complete team. Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase, that connection is getting stronger and stronger each week.
Yeah, it is.
So I think the Bengals are going to take this one by at least 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. So I'm with you on that. I say it's a 17-point win for the Bengals, actually. And the Jaguars are doing a lot of what the Jets are doing, right? So they get a new QB who's got a lot of natural talent about him, and they surround him with okay talent, and then they just have no game plan, and it leads to that no identity. Because if you can't get your QB set in a system that they're comfortable with, then you just lose identity as a team. And so let's talk these QBs, right? Let's do a head-to-head real quick. So you already brought up the interception. So Trevor Lawrence, 7 picks over 3 games. That's a terrible average there. And then Joe Burrow, 4 picks, 3 of which came from the Bears, as you mentioned. So he's, at one bad game, I would think he had like a 66 QB rating that one game.
Right.
But outside of that, he's doing pretty solid. Trevor Lawrence has an overall average QB rating of 60.3, which is abysmal, with 5 TDs to that 7 interception rate, with Joe Burrow having 7 TDs to 4 picks and rounding himself out with 105.4 QB rating. So if you look at that, if you have a 60 in one game, you got to be really doing well in those other 2 games to make up for that low average to break the 100. I think the identities are there for the Bengals. They know what they have in Joe Burrow. And the Jaguars, they don't know how to utilize Trevor Lawrence's natural talent. Or maybe he's fooling us. Maybe there's no talent to begin with. Whose fault do you think it is? Is the Jaguars front office and coaching staff? Or do you think it's Trevor Lawrence not being the QB we thought he was?
That's a tough question, but I kind of have to go with the front office staff here because all the storylines, or most of the storylines, I should say, are pointing towards like Urban Meyer and the fact that he's never really coached an NFL game. He's primarily a college coach, and college coaches that go to the NFL tend to not do as well. There are a few exceptions out there, but what we're seeing from Urban Meyer is just not that great. And here's the thing I always keep pointing towards. Back a few years ago, the Jags were in the AFC Championship game, and they had an okay quarterback in Blake Bortles. He was nothing special. Their offense was nothing too crazy. It was their defense that pretty much carried them the whole time. That was their identity. Their identity was that defense.
It was.
So now 4 years later, they don't have hardly any of those players anymore. Yeah. And obviously their offense is, completely gone. They have Trevor Lawrence back. So Trevor Lawrence has some highlights. He's made some good plays. He's had some very money throws, but he's also made a lot of poor decisions, and that comes from inexperience from being in the NFL. So I'm almost talking myself into like thinking it's a shared fault because Trevor Lawrence is inexperienced, but the front office is also inexperienced. It's just a very young franchise at the moment with a lot of people that have not really done much in the NFL, in my opinion. And there are first year quarterbacks that have done stuff in their first year, like, Baker Mayfield, for example. He did really well in his first year.
Right.
And, a few other quarterbacks like Andrew Luck and Cam Newton, like in those drafts. RG3 in his first year was also fantastic. Yeah, so amazing. Quarterbacks in their first years can do really well. For some reason this year, it's not just Trevor Lawrence, but like Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, like they're doing okay, but like they're just not great. I think the spotlight's just on Trevor Lawrence because he was that number 1 overall pick and he seemed unstoppable in Clemson, I believe.
Yeah, he's very stoppable now. And so, like you say, their defense identity is gone, and all of the pressure now is on a young QB who doesn't have any good mentorship, it seems like. And the QB is such an important position. All right, it is the center of a team.
Vital.
It's like the pitcher in the MLB series, right? If you don't have a good pitcher, you're losing that game, and it. So you have to strategize what week you're going to put, or what day, I should say, you're going to put your pitcher in.
As a Cowboys fan, I know how important a QB is to the team after last year.
So if you lose Dak Prescott, where are the Cowboys? If the Giants lose Daniel Jones, Does their record improve? Question mark. But so we can all agree that the QB is the general of the field. It is the heart of the team. And so I want to draw special attention every week. I want to draw attention to a new position, if you will, right? I want to call it like the position player spotlight of the week, right? Or we can call someone out and give them kudos, because often, like we are doing with Trevor Lawrence right now, we hammer down on players like, oh, they could have been doing better. But sometimes it's nice to raise them up a little bit. So I want to talk about one QB who I think deserves a lot of credit, and that's Matthew Stafford. Okay, so let me run through him and tell you why I think he is, and let me know if I'm selling you or not, and then try to do the same for me for someone else. All right. So here we go. Matthew Stafford. He's in his 13th year in the NFL. Okay, so he's no spring chicken. He starts his career and continues his career with the Lions, which are an absolutely terrible team. If you ever watch Tom Grossi on YouTube, he makes fun of the Lions for good reason all the time. So you take him out of that team where he only had what? Calvin Johnson as talent around him. And then you move him into a new franchise, the LA Rams. Okay. So he gets there. How does he start his year? Everyone's questioning, was it a good trade? Is he washed up? Is he just a stat patter? He goes in there and he silences everyone. He throws 9 TDs to 1 interception, has a QB rating of 130.63, wins, anything that he puts his hands down. If some people say he outdueled Tom Brady against the Buccaneers. Now, Tom Brady threw like 20 more passes for like 200 more yards than he did, but Matthew Stafford delivers accurate balls. He's consistent throughout all of the games. You don't see a problem with him, and he's surrounded by talent now. He's got Aaron Donald on defense. He's got Jalen Ramsey on defense. So you got a great front. You got an amazing backfield as well. And then you got Deshaun Jackson and Cooper Kupp as wide receivers to kind of replace how I think you need both of them to replace someone like Calvin Johnson. But you got 2 great wideouts to support Matthew Stafford's arm. He doesn't throw the short pass. His average pass right now is like 9 yards. So he's consistently stretching for that first down every single time, and he's accurate with it. When I hear longevity, I think Tom Brady, but at 13th year with Matthew Stafford playing the way he is, at 46,000 yards in his career already, with a 2-to-1 TD ratio, I have to say, maybe I'm a little early in this. You're going to probably boo me on this, but I say Matthew Stafford is setting himself up for an MVP season this year, not Offensive Player of the Year. No. MVP season. I'm saying it now. And then he'll probably screw me over next week because I'm betting everything on this. All right. But Matthew Stafford is the quarterback to watch this year. What do you got?
You didn't even have to sell me. Like, I pretty much agreed from the jump. Matt Stafford has just looked good. Like, there's just no way around it. I watched the week 1 game against the Bears. Yes, it's the Bears, but like, man, he looked good. And we were all thinking like, Stafford's a good quarterback. Like, he was basically the entirety of the Lions. Let's be real here. And put him on a great team and a great coach with Sean McVay and the Rams, and he did fantastic. I saw a stat on my TV screen as I was watching one of the games this past weekend, and it was so hilarious. It said that Matt Stafford was, let's see if I can word this right. So all of the Lions wins since 2011 have come when Matt Stafford was under center. No other quarterback for the Lions has gotten a win for them since 2011. Not even Jared Goff now, not even any of the other quarterbacks that have played for the Lions when Matt Stafford was hurt. Matt Stafford, whenever he was under center for the Lions, he would get them all of their wins in the past 10 years. So I just find that completely hilarious. And now he's killing it with the Rams. So yeah, MVP season, we'll see what happens. I'm not too sure, but he does look good. So,
all right,
there's no guarantees, but he's looking pretty good so far.
So if not Stafford, then who do you bring to the spotlight?
Let me sell you, because I'm a sellout and don't have Cowboys merch, but pretend this is Cowboys merch. I'm a Cowboys fan, and I'm going to sell Dak Prescott to you as, a Cowboys rival.
Nope.
Here's the thing, okay? I pretty much just have to present like last year to you. When Dak Prescott got hurt, the Cowboys ended up losing the vast majority of their games. They couldn't win against even the most easiest of opponents. Dak Prescott was on pace for an MVP caliber season, and he just knows how to throw the ball. He knows how to get out of the pocket. He makes so many impressive reads, and all throughout his tenure, you look at his rookie season and you look at his season now, he's doing almost the exact same stuff. He's not running as much as he used to, and that's mainly because of that ankle injury. He just doesn't want to break his ankle yet again. But, he knows how to complete a team. He knows how to, get the receivers the ball, and, he just knows how to make those professional looking reads. So, and he can read the defenses too. You just see him on the line, and he sees whenever a cornerback is starting to come in and he sees a blitz, he's gonna audible, make some receivers get more open, have the running back block for that cornerback, and throw it to a wide open tight end. He can make these reads, and he can just complete games for you. He knows how to finish drives. He knows how to get you down to field goal range to kick field goals late in the fourth quarter. Dak Prescott was Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2016. And that was his rookie season when they went 13-3. He's been to the playoffs twice in the past 5 years, I believe, and that's including the year where he got hurt in week 5. So Dak Prescott, whenever he's on the field, always gives the Dallas Cowboys a chance. And you, as a Giants fan who has to face Dak Prescott twice a year, must know that it is more of a relief whenever the Cowboys walk on the field and you don't have to see Dak Prescott playing for you guys. That is Dak Prescott.
Yeah, what you said there is, I have to prepare for him 2 times a year, right? I don't. That's the fate of Dak Prescott. I only have to prepare for him maybe once a year because he's injured the other time. So I don't fear him because I don't think he's going to show up. If he can show more of a toughness about him, if he can maybe wear, Giants blue, maybe he'd be a better quarterback. But I do have to say that he really did sell himself well last year, not with how he played, but with how the team performed without him. You could really see how much Dallas needs him. But at the same time, I still think that he needs Zeke. I see the two as a pair. If one is without the other, I don't see the Cowboys doing well. And I don't know if that's on your offensive coordinator or if that's on those two players, but they seem like they are a tandem. And they need to be a duo to be successful. But I'll give you it. In the NFC East, he is the best quarterback.
Hey, I'll take it. I'll take what I can get. You're right. We've seen Zeke without Dak and how poorly him and the rest of the team have played. We haven't seen Dak without Zeke, and I don't want to see Dak without Zeke. I like our team the way it is at the moment, and I think this will just be a great year to look forward to. If Dak Prescott wins Comeback Player of the Year, you'll see me coming back to this podcast and telling you all about it.
It's okay. Matthew Stafford MVP. I called it now. Week 4. Here we go. So, all right, let's switch gears for a second. All right. So you got, we keep picking on the NFC East a little bit. And I think it's right too, right? We've performed poorly these last couple of years as a just 4 teams just failing to come together and assemble anything that resembles winning. Victory,
a couple of years might be an understatement.
Yeah. But it's not. And so that's what I want to do here. I want to actually talk about the history of the NFC East from 1982 to now. Okay. We'll truncate a little bit, of course. But right. Let's break it into 3 sets here. We'll say 1982 to 1995. We'll call that an era of the NFC East. Okay. And then you have 96 to 06. And then you have what I'll call the recent era, which is 07 to 2020. Okay. A lot of people say, hey, the NFC East is a garbage division. It's the worst division out there. The NFL is thinking about reorganizing all their divisions to make the NFC East better. But I'm telling you, it's wrong. All of this nonsense that you're hearing, all the talking heads on ESPN that you're hearing talking about the NFC least, right? It's wrong. Unless you're talking about a very small time period, which is the current last 2 seasons. Ready for this? 1982 to 1995. That's 14 seasons, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The NFC East wins 8 Super Bowls in 14 years, okay? 8 Super Bowls in 14 years. 3 from Washington, 2 from the Giants, 3 for the Cowboys, and then the Eagles and the Cardinals don't show up, okay? They just don't show up. Of that, they also had another Super Bowl appearance. So that's 9 Super Bowl appearances in 14 seasons. NFC East. I mean, this is the golden era of the NFC East. This is when you've got Lawrence Taylor out there for the Giants. You've got, the dynasty for the Cowboys. Washington is at its strongest state. They're vicious in the field. They break people, right? And then the Eagles played football.
They were there.
The Cardinals shouldn't have been there. And so you have 8 Super Bowls with an additional appearance, so 9 Super Bowl appearances. Only 21 times did a NFC East team go negative. Okay, 21 times over 5 teams. I'm sorry, 31 times over 5 teams. And if you remove the Cardinals because they're no longer there, then it's 21 over 4 teams. That's not too bad, okay? Because you always got to have a loser. And over 14 seasons, only 21 times. That's an amazing division. I don't think you can get better. So then we step into the second phase, okay? 1996 to 06. Did you start watching football around that time? 96 to 06?
I was born around that time, so I can't say I was probably watching football with my dad as a young infant. Don't ask me to retain any of that information though, so I will let you run through the history of that decade for me and give me a refresher.
Okay. So Cardinals are still there. Okay, they move around during this time frame. I think they switched to Phoenix at this point, right? But they're only there for a few seasons and then they're gone. Okay, but in this 11 season cycle for this era, 0 Super Bowl wins, 2 Super Bowl appearances, one by the Giants, which I remember that was my first Super Bowl I ever watched, and it was awful. The Giants didn't even stand a chance. And then the Eagles made a Super Bowl appearance, and they're just awful to begin with, so no one cares. Right. So 2 Super Bowl appearances over 11 seasons, not too bad. No victories though, and 18 negative seasons. So they have this weird middling period, right, where we're all kind of just equaling out 8-8, whatever the case may be. Nothing impressive though coming out of this era. This is the era I say that the NFC East was weak. Let's go to the current era, 07 to 20. Now, this is an era of football you know very well. All right, this is the era that you've thrown and watched your entire life, right? This is an era I rejoice in as well because Giants win 2 Super Bowls, right, against the Patriots. They're well-renowned. The David Tyree helmet catch, all these great things happen. The Eagles somehow won a Super Bowl against the same team. So we beat the Patriots 3 times in the Super Bowl during this era. So 3 Super Bowl victories. The Cardinals are out of the division, so it's just the 4 teams. So you have no other Super Bowl appearances. But here's the thing. You have 23 seasons where one of those teams went negative, right? So 23 times an NFC East team went negative in those 14 years for this era. That's more than the
basic math shows you. That's more than at least one to 2 teams every year go negative.
It does. And so where are these numbers coming from? You've got 3 Super Bowls during this time frame. You've got very strong teams that appear. That Dak Prescott led Cowboys was a very strong team that came up. You talked about them, right? Last 2 years, you have only 1 positive team. That was the Eagles in 2019. By positive, I mean barely. They went 9-7. The Cowboys went 8-8, I believe, in 2019. Outside of that, every single team in the NFC East has gone negative for the 2019-2020 season. That's the garbage people talk about. That's why they say NFC least. But it's not a garbage division, because if you look at the last 14 years, like the career of like an Eli Manning or someone like that, right? The division's gone to 3 Super Bowls. I mean, not too long ago, the Eagles won the division. And then they won the Super Bowl, right? So what was that, 4 years ago now? So, and I'll give you one more statistic, and then I've got a good question for you, okay? So over these last 2 seasons, Washington has gone 10 wins out of 22 games, okay? Eagles win 13 with a tie. So, 8 losses. Giants go 10 for 22, just like the Washington football team. And then Dallas goes 14 for 18. So all 4 teams over 2 years have an overall negative record. Why? That's the $1 million question, man. Why?
That's a very tough and interesting question. It's almost like one season they do really, really well, and then the next season they're down the gutter. Like it just I think that happened with pretty much every single team. You go with Washington, for example. They're probably the earliest example where they had RG3. They were looking like a super team in 2012, unstoppable almost. And then he gets hurt, his knee breaks, and that's pretty much it for RG3's career, no matter what anybody says. And that was pretty much it for Washington. They haven't recovered since. They won the division twice since, but they've gone nowhere since.
Yeah.
The Giants, I mean, they were last in the playoffs in 2016. They lost to the Packers. Some shenanigans there, you can say. But since then,
Boat trip.
Eli Manning hasn't been himself. I wasn't going to bring it up, but thank you for doing so. Eli Manning wasn't himself since then. Beckham really wasn't himself since then. They had to let him go. And then the Giants overall just was just messy for the last few years. Like I think they went like 3 years winning like no more than 3 or 4 games a season. For that was a really down bad stretch. I don't know if I can handle that myself. I'm going to be honest, but something happened with the Giants, and I don't know what it was. It was something along those lines. The Eagles, something happened after that Super Bowl. Something happened that allowed them to get to that Super Bowl. Was it Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson's combo? I don't know, because Carson Wentz didn't even play in the playoffs.
Yeah,
it was Nick
Foles
Foles.
Yeah.
Nick Foles, I'm going to stand by this all day, but Nick Foles was a much better fit for the Eagles offense than Carson Wentz ever was. And I don't know why he kept getting traded back and forth to the Eagles and he's not there anymore. But, regardless, neither of them are on the team anymore. It's Jalen Hurts' team. And the Eagles, I think injuries bothered them too. Since winning the Super Bowl, they haven't been themselves. And since that, from between 07 and 17, the first half of that era, they weren't really that great of a team either. They were 4-12, 5-11 some seasons. So the Eagles, something was up with the Eagles. And then the Cowboys, I don't know. I've lived through some of those games, and Jason Garrett, you can maybe blame it on with his uncreative offenses. Maybe we choked some games away. We were just a very mediocre team. I think, the mid 2010s were definitely the years where we didn't have an identity as a Cowboys team. Maybe our identity was, Tony Romo isn't clutch. I don't know. And I don't think that's true. I think he has been clutch in certain games, but, yeah, the Cowboys, they just I think you mentioned it earlier. They have trouble finishing, and I think that's their main problem. And when they get injured, it really shows. Tony Romo gets hurt. They have like a 4-12 season draft. Dak Prescott the next year. Dak Prescott gets hurt, and they go 4-8 for the next for the rest of the games or something like that. So, long story short, I think injuries is pretty much what sets every single one of these teams back. But that's my take. What do you think set these teams downhill for this decade?
Well, you know what? I'm gonna say something here. Let's talk about Dallas for a second, because you're a Dallas fan. The Cowboys went negative 5 times in that first era I was talking about. Okay, 5 times. In the second era, the era that I said was kind of the meh era, they go negative 5 more times. This era, the middling Cowboys, because I think that's what they were, right? Tony Romo, Jason Garrett, it was the middling Cowboys, 8-8, 8-8, 8-8, 9-7. That team only went negative 3 times in these last 14 seasons, man, 3 times, which is the least they've ever done in the last almost 40 years. Okay. Not bad, but they've lost the explosiveness. They've lost the cohesion, the ability to finish. There's no stars on the team. Okay. Let's look at Washington. With Riggins and everything from the 80s, they were just a brutal team. Okay. You wanted to watch them for the defense because they would just light people up and break players. Theismann was there. They had some wonderful talent. They only went negative 4 times in that era, 4 times in the next era, then 9 times this era, 9 times, more than double. Giants, explosive defense. The offense was Phil Simms did a great job, but the offense really wasn't the selling point of the Giants ever. It was the defense. That blue wrecking crew just destroyed players and even broke Theismann, right? The next era, though, they lost their identity. They didn't have an offense or a defense. And so they went 5 negative games the first era, 5 games the next era. And then now 7 games they've gone, but they've also won two Super Bowls with 7 negative seasons. They're hot and miss. Either they click really well as a team, particularly under Tom Coughlin, and now they're on a third coach, probably a fourth one next season because they're going to go 5-17 this year. Let's be honest, or 5 out of 17, I should say. They're garbage this year. So once again, you have a team declining, and then the Eagles, they're middling team. They're another middling team that had a spark year between Carson Wentz and Nick Foles. They win a Super Bowl. So what is it that changes it? In my opinion, it's the stars, man. The 80s were all about Washington. The late 80s, early 90s, all about the Giants. And then the early 90s into the mid 90s, you just had the trio, right? You had, Troy Aikman out there just lighting teams up. The Cowboys were just dominant. You had stars, and I'm an older guy than you are, right? So I see those teams and I have nostalgia for them. Am I blinded? Am I wrong? Is the NFC East lacking stars nowadays, or am I just putting up older players on a higher pedestal that they don't need to be on?
I don't think you're very blinded at all, because if you think about it, you bring up a lot of very good statistics, because the one that strikes us the most is the fact that the NFC East, just that division, won 8 of the 14 Super Bowls in that era from the 82 to 95. And that was really only 3 teams in that NFC East. And now in this new era, they've, like you said, they've only won 3 of the most of the recent 13-14 seasons. And you're right. I think that's because there's a lack of star power on each and every single team. You take a look at the present day stars. Patrick Mahomes from the Chiefs is a very notable name. He's their superstar. You got, Tom Brady's on the Buccaneers and all of their squad. The Bills are starting to become a powerhouse team with Josh Allen as their quarterback. Stephon Diggs is really lighting it up as a receiver for them. So they're building themselves up as, powerhouses. And
yeah, look at the Bucks. You got Tom Brady, you got Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski. I mean, you could go on and on. JPP.
They have weapons everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah, everywhere.
It's
stars.
Crazy. Yeah, and those are the types of players that when you get them on a team, they win Super Bowls and they win championships.
Yeah.
I know this isn't a basketball podcast, but the NBA, you put stars together on one team, they tend to do really, really well.
Right? I mean, it's common sense.
Yeah, it's common sense. The NFC East, I don't know, I thought the Cowboys had money or something. We don't have. I mean, I like to think we have good players, but until we can reach the level of success that Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin had in the entire offensive line, we're not comparable. We've had great seasons, 13-3, 10-6, and right now we're 2-1, looking pretty so far. But I think you and I can agree, even though we're fans of different teams, our similarities are that we don't have that star power identity, and I think that's something we need to address in the future.
Agreed. If you look at to wrap this up real quick, just to talk about the Giants for a second, okay? Who is the star when you think of New York Giants? Who's the star of the team, man?
To present day.
Present day. Yep.
I mean, it's supposed to be Saquon, right?
Okay, there you go. Saquon Barkley, right? Saquon Barkley is the star of the New York Giants. Without him, the Giants are nothing, right? What has he done? He had a breakout rookie season, a pretty good sophomore season, an injury, and he was terrible before the injury, and now he's terrible after the injury. He's not a star. There is no one out there that I want to go, I want his jersey. There's no, even Eli Manning, he was great. He was my favorite player of all time, but he's not a star. It's just something that we lack right now as a division. And I have to blame our ownerships, right? Jerry Jones hasn't done anything really with the Cowboys. The Mara family and Tisch family haven't done anything with the Giants recently. The Eagles, I mean, that's not even an ownership, and the Washington football team can't even pick a name, right? How can you have a star? The only, you know what? I take it back. We have one star in the division.
It's our logo.
It's your logo, exactly, right? That is the only thing we got going for us. So if you could just put a player name on that, maybe throw it in Hollywood Boulevard or something. I don't know, but we need to do something here, and it starts with ownership. So I think that's where we're at with the NFC East. We've had 2 bad years. I don't think we're NFC least right now. I just think we're missing some small key components. And if we get just a breakout player in any of those teams, it's going to raise the division as a whole. I think the competition will breed success for all of us. So
you're right.
Don't steal that player from us, because we got 2 first-round picks this year, man. Just let us build our stardom.
Okay, I'll try. As if I have control.
So I want to wrap this up, right? We got our final topic of the day, and it is playoff predictions. I don't want to do power rankings with you. I think power rankings end up being playoff predictions in the end. You don't know what to do at the end of the season because there's clear-cut winners, and it's like, yeah, it's boring. We know
power rankings shake off every single time, every week anyway. So
yeah. So let's go with playoff predictions. Early playoff predictions. We'll go down the news, right? North, East, West, South, and then the 1, 2, 3 for the wild cards. We'll start with the AFC. Go with the NFC. You don't have to describe them all, man. You could just pick one. If there's one that really stands out and why you chose it, you can challenge me on it, or I can challenge you on it. But I figure I'll go with the NFC North or AFC North. I'll start off there, and then we'll go back and forth. Okay. So cool. AFC North, if we can get a little graphic, it'd be great.
Right.
We'll, like right here. Ready? Boom. Browns. I'm saying NFC North or AFC North. Browns are going to take it without a doubt. I think they're going to run away with this division. Well, who do you got though?
I'm pointing in this direction. Okay. I was gonna say Ravens, but because I forgot the Browns were in the division, so I'm going with Browns as well. Browns are my pick to, they're the strongest team at the moment.
Yeah, they got too much stardom, once again, stardom. There we are. They too much power on the team. Odell Beckham, as much as I hate the man, he comes back and he performs well this week. I just think they have too strong of a team. The AFC East is too easy. It's a terrible division now. You have the Miami Dolphins that don't know who they are. The Jets are literally there just to hold a spot. And the Patriots aren't what they were before. They're an average team at best. Bills run away with it, 100%.
Put them on the graphic for both of us. It's the Bills. Come on, let's be real.
Yeah, Bills. The West. Now, I think the West
That's
is where,
compelling.
Yeah, this is the one that everyone's going to have their own team, their own pick with. But you know what? Maybe it's not a popular pick, but I say the Raiders are taking it this year. They are going to be the AFC West champions. I think Derek Carr is Gruden Jr. now. He's in his little emo phase. He's got like his mascara on under his eyes. Either way, I think he's Gruden Jr. So I think they're going to run away with it.
I would love for you to be right. I am rooting for the Raiders so hard to win the division. Unfortunately, this division is just super, super strong, and everyone is playing well. The Broncos, will see if they play a good team, but so far everyone's playing well. I'm gonna stick with the Chiefs. I'm sorry, they lost to the Chargers, yeah, but I think the Chiefs have been so well these last few years, and they really haven't lost much. Their defense, I think, just needs to find themselves again over these next few games, and then they'll be up and rolling once again. So until, talk to me again, maybe like halfway through the season and see where the Chiefs are in the standings. They're in a little dip right now, but I gotta stick with them.
All right. Well, fair to you. South, I'm going to go Titans. I really don't see anyone else in that AFC South doing anything this year. Do you have anyone that you want to say?
South, we all know Jackson. I'm kidding. It's the Titans. The Titans are going to win. It's not even going to be close. I'd be shocked if it came down to a few games.
All right. And then in no particular order here, because I don't want to do like power rankings or anything. My 3 wild cards: Chargers, Ravens, and Chiefs. I think those are the 3 teams that have the strongest chance to make those wild card spots for the AFC. And I don't really think it's even disputable, but I'll give you a chance.
I'm going to go pretty much the same, but except for Chiefs, I'm going Raiders because I picked the Chiefs to win. So Chargers, Raiders, and Ravens. No particular order, but I don't see it being any different from that.
All right. So I think the AFC is pretty easy to look at right now. And outside of the AFC West, and say these are the clear-cut winners. Moving over to the NFC, I think there's more room for us to debate things because we all know the Cowboys are terrible. So we start with the NFC North, right? Going down news. And you have, I say the Packers are taking the NFC North. I think that Aaron Rodgers has proven that or proven his point and that the Packers need him. And then now he's going to start playing real football for them. I'd say they win out right there.
I really don't want to see the Packers to win, but they're the most complete team in the NFC North. No other team stands a chance. If you're a Lions fan, for example, like don't even wish it. Like, after the way they lost last week, you just, the Lions have no shot. The Bears and the Vikings are just kind of meh at the moment. But the Packers, man, like they're looking good. They looked rough in week 1, yeah, but when Rodgers knows like this is almost swan song type for the Packers, like they're gonna win this division. I don't see it any other way, unfortunately.
The Bucs started last year at a 38-3 loss. So did the Packers.
That's true.
Throwing that out there. NFC East, it hurts me. It hurts everything behind me, all this history behind me.
Doesn't hurt me at all.
I have to say the Cowboys. Right
Put them on the board twice.
Yeah.
Put them on the board twice. The Cowboys are winning the division. Let's go.
Unless
hope that doesn't come back to bite me.
Unless Dak gets
hope that doesn't come back to bite me. Yeah, you're right.
All right. So the NFC West, once again, the West proving that they're strong, just division in football, whether it be AFC or NFC. But I say, after I spoke so highly of Matthew Stafford, MVP Matthew Stafford for the season, Rams are running away with the West this year, in my opinion. Put them right there.
The Rams are a very solid team. The rest of the NFC East is also a really solid team as well. I'm going to go wild card here. I'm picking the 49ers. Yeah, they just barely lost to the Packers, but the 49ers look pretty good. I think, they have multiple threats, and they have a standout defense with, Nick Bosa and that entire line. Sure, they didn't get to Aaron Rodgers in week 3 much, but just wait for them to turn back on, and I think they can do some damage. Just wait till after the bye week. They're looking pretty good right now. They're only 1 game behind. It's week 3. We got a whole 14 weeks ahead of us. This is my wild pick. I'm going 49ers.
I think you're insane, and I think the comments will reflect that. The 49ers are a joke, man. They'd even make my wild cards, okay? So NFC South, I picked the reigning Super Bowl champions. You can't say no to Tom Brady. Tom Brady is hungry. He wants a ring for every single finger. I don't know why, but the man is just on a conquest. I say they win the NFC South.
Yeah, no, Tom Brady is not going to let the Buccaneers not win the NFC South. I feel like the dude hasn't been on a team that hasn't won the division, so they're winning the South.
All right, so my 3 wild cards, I got the Cardinals, I got the Panthers, and I got the Saints. If you notice, I've snubbed the 49ers, and on the other side, I snubbed the Bengals, who I am talking highly of Joe Burrow right now, but
there's a lot of snubs, yeah.
But all right, so Cardinals, Panthers, Saints. Who do you got?
Oh, you got some tough choices here, but I'm going to go with the Rams, of course. I'm going to go with the Cardinals, and I'm also going to go with the Panthers. I thought about the Vikings for a quick second. I felt like maybe the Vikings can sneak in there, be that 7th seed like the Bears were, and just somehow sneak into that wild card. But the Panthers look good right now, and the Cowboys play them next week, or this coming week. So we'll see how that looks, how that reflects. That'll be a good reflector on both teams, in my opinion. So we'll see how that goes. But those are my wild cards, and let's see how they go.
All right, then, everyone. So that's the show. There's our picks right there. Whoever wins out, we'll come up with something. Maybe we'll let the comment section decide over the future on what the reward or what the punishment is for winning or losing that. We'll revisit them every week. We'll make some tweaks, and then at the final week, we'll go ahead and see how far off we've changed from our original predictions. So in the comments section down below, why don't you go ahead and leave either your predictions or one pick to you that Gabe said, like the 49ers, that is just absolutely absurd.
Tell me how wrong I am.
Yeah, tell us how wrong we are. All right, because honestly, we're NFC East fans. maybe we're a little
in case you couldn't tell
biased
from this podcast.
But I want to do a shout out to our first thing. So we both said that the Bengals were going to win. Gabe said by 2 TDs, me by 17 points. My father actually made a shout out to that game, and he said Cincinnati is going to win. What did he say here? 21-20. So that's a very interesting score. So if you got a better pick for Thursday Night Football, go ahead. Also drop that down below in the comments. So that's a couple options for y'all to talk about. We'll do a little comment tree. We'll pin a comment so that way you can go ahead and create your discussions underneath. And whoever gets the closest, we'll go ahead and showcase them in next week's video. So thank you all. This has been Wednesday Night Football. I'm your host, Jesse Waidler. And that right there is the good man, Gabe, who needs to change his team. Signing off. Have a good one.
Peace.